Hi everyone, welcome back to another webinar. Now on this webinar we're going to be covering reporting. So of course when you complete your modules within the Monitor portal, it's important that head office and senior management can then pull that information out into a report in the back end and subsequently schedule that report to be sent to themselves every month, week, day, etc. So I'm going to first of all by giving you an overall description of our reporting formats. So you'll see you can access the reporting portal if you have access to that portal depending on your role by clicking the three dots, and we have the configure, the monitor and the reporting. I'm going to select reporting, and it then brings me up a reports dashboard, which then allows me to click on reports, showing you a list of the modules that you currently have in your setup, meaning you can pull reports in the back end for all of the modules that you require. So you can see there's a consistency to our reporting. We've got performance management export for audits, performance management export for issues or requests. For checks we have performance management export, and then contractors and actions and records we have performance management and actions performance management analysis. So because they all follow the same structure, it's really important for you to know what report that you guys want to pull dependent on the information that you require. So the performance reports are typically the top level report to give you an overall idea of how your guys are performing in that particular module. So for example, if I go to the check performance, which is a very common report used by our customers, it'll then bring up a report which lists your locations as well as the scorings for the days selected within your date period. Now as you can see, we're all flagging red with our average score is 0 and 0.2. Now the way the scoring works is, as this is a check performance, this is pulling through information from checks. If a check has been missed, you get 0 points. If a check has been completed late, you get 5 points. And if a check has been missed, you get 0 points. Now, during the reporting, what will happen is you'll get an average score for that day, which will calculate an average depending on all of the checks that have been completed and their status. You also have the ability to amalgamate depending on regions, depending on locations, and also things like departments and different entities too, as well as if you want to pull a report on area managers. Once you pull the report, you can change the chart format. So if you want to see the view score, you can do that. However, if you want to now see the percentage of missed checks for each area manager's area, you also have the ability to do that, as well as a variety of other different things. A very important one that you may want to know is how well is each department doing with completing checks. So when you change it to department and click run, they can then give you a list of the departments within your business and give you an average score per day of how well that particular department is doing. When you come down to kitchen and you say, why did the kitchen only get a 0.4 on Tuesday? You can click on that day and it'll bring you up a list of the checks that is completed by that department, and this is where you can get to the bottom of what are the ones that are being missed the most. And the way that you figure that out is red represents the checks are missed. If there's amber, that would represent the checks were completed late, and the green represents that a check was completed on time. And you can even click view which will take you straight to that PDF copy of the check within Logit. So that is our check performance. So if you like the look of this report, like all of our reports, and you want to receive this to be scheduled to be sent to yourself, what you can do is enter the date range. So if you want to receive it daily, for example, you could have the date range as the 22nd of February, and you want to see how well each department is doing, and you want to schedule this to be sent to yourself every morning when you're having your coffee, so you can see how your staff are getting on. You can click this schedule, rename this to daily scores, confirm the time you want to receive it, and click schedule. Now this means that you'll schedule this to be sent to yourself every day at 7 o'clock for the previous day's scores. Now what you can also do within the check performance report is, if you want to have a copy of the PDFs to be sent to yourself during a specific date range, you can then specify which checks that you want to receive by PDF format, click run, and you then can schedule these to be sent to yourself by way of an Excel or zip a copy of the PDFs to be sent to yourself as well. Once you set this up, it will essentially give you the ability to save this to your OneDrive on your computer. So, as we covered, check performance allows you to have a top level overview of how well each department or area manager or location is doing with completing their checks. Now, question is, how do we specify which colours and which gradings we give, so we know that if it is green, it means that 90% of them has been done? Now you can update this to say that if it's over 8 average a day, that is green. If it's between 6 and 8, that's amber. And if it's below 6, it's flagged as red, to give you an easy view of how well they're doing. To update this setting on the gradings for the check performance, as well as other modules, super users have access to go and update this by clicking the 3 dots, heading over to the configure portal, and scrolling down to the performance limits. So you'll see that we have actions, audits, and checks, which is the modules which have the performance reports. And you can see if it is below 5, it's red, if it's between 5 and 9, it's amber, and if it's above 9, it's green, and so on, so on, so on. But you could actually update this to other figures, and if you are only happy with perfection and you want green to only be 100% for that day, you can update this to 9.9. So that's how you update the gradings, depending on how you want your gradings to be for your business. Heading back to the reporting portal. So we now know that the performance report just gives you an overall breakdown of how well your departments or staff are doing. However, you can actually download this into an Excel format. And within the Excel format, it will then give you the scores in Excel, as well as different tabs have different data pulling through. So we've got on-time percentage, miss percentage, miss counts. It's essentially giving you all the filters that you have to display the chart in an Excel format. And of course, this is what would be sent to yourself if you scheduled. You can also specify which locations that you want the report to pull from, to make sure that you receive the data that you need to see, depending on the need for the data. Then have our management reports. So management reports are great as it gives you the ability to run reports depending on topics. If you only want to see the food safety topic in your setup, you can click run. And I only want to see the food safety checks that are closed down, to give you an idea of, are all of the HACCP checks being completed on time? And this allows you to view, and it will take you straight to the copy of the check PDF. Again, you can filter by location, you can filter by topic if you have any assigned to your checks. And like all of the other reports, if you like the look of this, it gives you information about what checks are being missed, for example. You can download this and also schedule this to be sent to yourself every day, week, month. And then we have our export reports. So the check export report is one of our most commonly used and scheduled report, as this allows you to get a report which gives you all of the answers and all of the questions answered against a particular check during the date period that you advised. So for example, if I get an EHO visit, for example, and they request to see all of your cooking temperatures, you can run an export report during a date period of the last 6 weeks, select locations that you are assigned to and which you need to pull the reports for. If your staff members are only assigned to one location, then they will only be able to see the reporting for the location that they are assigned to. You can then click download. Once it's downloaded, it will give you a few tabs down the bottom. The first tab will confirm how many checks have been completed and how many cooking temperatures have been recorded during the date period that you advised. It will confirm who was submitted by, when it was submitted, how many questions were completed, how many questions were missed, and this will also take you directly to the copy of the PDF check that was completed within Logit, and you can also download this. Then have the answers tab, so this will give you all of the answers that have been advised in every check, but we've actually got a nicer format with it, which gives you the answers matrix, which essentially on the left hand side in the A column confirms all of the questions within the check, and then you'll see that the columns down the top is each column is a check, is an individual check. So you can see that this check is for the Edinburgh Main Kitchen, completed at 9:21, and the first item that was recorded was chicken at 76 degrees, the second was curry pork at 79 degrees, and the third was the rice at 78 degrees. We then have our reheating temperatures, and we know that it was 3 degrees, 2 degrees, and one was, rice, for example. Now, if any of the temperatures recorded are below requirements as per the validations within your form, i.e. it's too high or too low, then they would need to leave a comment on the check, which will then pull through into the reporting when you go to comments. You can see here the comment says it's for the question left of fresh cooked temperature, and it'll give you the question, which is food item, and the comment left by the user. So this may be food discarded as temperature too low, for example. So the check export really gives you a granular report of one particular check, and it will give you every answer that was recorded for every location that you advised for the date range of your choice. So of course there's only one check here, but if you're a kitchen, you'll actually have multiple, so each column will be an individual check. So it'll be, this will be the 1st of February, the 2nd of February, or if you have multiple checks throughout the day, they'll all just be listed into a different column, giving you a clear view of every temperature that's been recorded. Now we then have our check export confirmed. Again, you can schedule this to be sent to yourself if you want to receive a specific check export on every day, week, month, as like our reporting. You'll see that most of them follow that structure is performance top level, management a bit more information, and export a granular report with all the questions and all the answers. So once you know that, it then becomes quite easy to know what report I need depending on what information that I want. If I go to the audit performance, for example, it will then give me a breakdown of how well my team are doing within the audit module. It can give you a total audits completed, how many actions were actually generated from the audits, how many are outstanding, the total issues, and the average score per audit. So if I scroll down, I can then see that while Edinburgh Main Kitchen, they smashed out the park with the last audit, and it confirms that that audit, the total score was 229 out of a total available of 231, and that audit grading was a pass. But you can also see that Edinburgh F&B only received 28%. And if you click on it, it confirms all of the audits that were meant to be completed at that location and what score they received. So like the check performance, the audit performance is the top level report. You can be sent this to you can schedule this to be sent to yourself in way of PDFs, i.e. get a copy of every PDF of the audits, or you can schedule this to be sent to yourself in Excel format depending on your preference. You can update your filters to show me the view miscounts, or you can apply topics and only pull through certain audits depending on their topic. Again, you can select which audits you want to pull through on the performance report. So it really has all the functionalities of the check performance, where you can filter by region, location, room, area manager, so on, so on, so on. Now, I want to open the audit export as this is a really beneficial report for you to learn when it comes to pulling your audits out in the back ends, so you can get a good idea of how well your team's doing, as well as what questions are actually failing the most during my audits across board. So I can select the audit export that I want to export. Again, you can only export one at a time. Select the date range you want to export from, confirm the locations and click download. Once it is downloaded, it will then give you some tabs at the bottom to say events, and this events page will confirm to yourself how many audits were completed. 2 audits were completed, they both have a unique ID, the location they were completed for, the progress, when did it start, when did it end, available questions, questions completed, and how many actions were raised off the back of this audit. As well as giving you a score breakdown, as well as the grade given to that particular audit. We have the answers tab and the comments tab, which will make more sense, and it gives you a better view when I go to answer matrix. As what the answers matrix will do, will give you all of the questions within the C column, the section names within the A, all of the questions within the C, all of the answers for that particular audit that was completed at Edinburgh Main Kitchen on the 18th of February. So you can see that we have 2 audits completed, and each audit is on a different column, giving you an easy view of multiple audits at the one glance. Now you can see that we have answers matrix, but you can see that both of the dishwasher operating at 55 degrees wash for both audits were answered no. And we can then go to the comments tab and get a reason why that question has failed across both. So for example, we go to the comments tab, we can link the unique IDs together, and the question here to say dishwasher operating at 55 degrees was answered no. Why was that? We can now see that the reason for that is because the dishwasher is broken, and they've raised that with the maintenance guys. We then have our scores matrix. This gives you an idea of how well each section is doing across board. So we can now see that it gives you a score breakdown in percentage, and then gives you a score and then a maximum score. So this gives you an idea of what sections within the audit are performing best across board. And if one particular section is consistently getting a low score across all audits across board, then you know this needs to be included in the staff training. We then have the scores matrix, and this will give you how well each question is doing across board for all of the locations that are completing this audit. So you can see that it will give you the maximum scores that the question can have across the audits that have been completed, and it will give you the total score. So if I go to column F, I can see the average percentage is all of these questions are averaging 100% pass rate. However, are all of the food contact surfaces clean is only getting a 50% pass rate. So this will then allow you to identify which questions are the most commonly failing across all of the audits that have been completed for the locations within your setup. So that is our audit export reporting. Again, you can schedule this to be sent to yourself every day, week, month. And if you do want this to be sent to yourself for every month, for example, what you would do is select the date range as, the 1st of February until the 29th of February, and I want to see the food safety audits from the previous month. Click schedule, confirm it's monthly, and you want it to be sent on the 1st of the month when you're having your coffee at 7 in the morning. You'll see that we have a drop-down box for previous reports and scheduled reports, so all of the scheduled reports will be the ones that you already have scheduled to be sent to yourself. So, there's a few other things I want to cover, but giving you an idea that management and what a performance report is, what a management report is, and what an export report is, it'll give you the training that you require to know what reports that you want to be pulling. Now, another report that I want to show you, which will be beneficial for, when you may have EHO visits, is if you have your fridge and freezers created as assets within Logit, you then have the ability to run an asset properties report. And this asset properties report will allow you to pull through all of the temperatures that have been recorded for the refrigeration or the fridge freezer separately. So if I want to see all of the temperatures that have been recorded for the fridge during the date period of November until today's date, I can then say I want to see the asset details, or the purchase price, even the temperature. You can click run. It'll then give you a graph which says there's actually been no temperatures recorded, so we know that's a big issue because we're not compliant and we need to make sure that we're recording fridge temperatures. They can then go, I want to run a kitchen fridge one, select I want to see the fridge temperature, and then click run. And what you can do is download this report, but also gives you a graph which says the average and maximum fridge temperatures recorded against each asset. And what this will do is open a report, give you the history and a top level overview of each fridge. And if you go to the details tab, it will give you every single temperature that's been recorded for each fridge freezer within your setup between these dates specified when you ran the report. And like always, you can schedule this to be sent to yourself. Now, asset properties are absolutely brilliant. So if you have assets built into your system and you pull these onto the calendar, for example, you can either run an asset properties report for your assets that you have in your calendar, or alternatively, we actually have a calendar management report, which is absolutely fantastic to give you an idea of what you have upcoming during a certain date range. So for calendar management, what you can then do is run a calendar management report, put the date range back into the past so you can get the previous inspection dates, and then put the end date as a date in the future so it can pull through what are the upcoming events to the end of this year that I have within my calendar. Click run, and it will then give you a really nice report which says, okay, I now know that my stat compliance within my calendar, I have some out of date, and this can be sent to yourself so you know exactly what you have coming up, as well as what you have most importantly that's overdue. You can also send this to yourself every day, week, month, for example. So yes, that is the way our calendars work. Our performance is very much our top level overview of the particular module that you pull. As you can see, I've just opened the request performance, and it gives you a top level overview to say how well are each location doing and what is their average resolution time to get the request closed down. Now, before we finish this up, a really nice report that we like to show our customers are the two most commonly used ones. So you can go down to the guides, and if I type in EHO, we have an article called Oh No, It's the EHO, and this will tell you exactly what reports that you can run to gather the information that you require for when the EHO visits. So again, it will show you the performance management and export, and it will confirm what each report does to give you an idea of what reports that you want to download when you do get EHO visits. But more importantly, make sure you get them scheduled so when you do get any visits, you already have the reports in your mailbox ready to hand over. We have another report called Fire. If you type in a buzzword like fire, we have Fire Safety Inspector. And it's the same format as the EHO guide that we have built. This is another help guide which confirms what to do and what reports to run when you have an EHO visit, which will depend heavily on the setup that you have, but it will give you a breakdown of what each report is, so not to worry if you get a inspector in. Head over to our help guides and it will give you a breakdown of what reports to run, which will help you hand over whatever information that you require. But again, when it comes to reporting, this will of course heavily depend on what information that you require. So I would strongly advise to, head into the reporting, and click on different reports within your setup so you can then get an idea of what reports work for you. And if you find the report that works for you, what you can then do, like I said, is just schedule it to be sent to yourself. And this just saves you logging in every day a week to see what the scores are, or see what the handover diary for the next week is, or for the previous week. Just schedule it to be sent to yourself, and it's as easy as that. Now, thank you so much for joining me today on this webinar where we gave you a breakdown of how our reports work. Like I said, performance, a top level report. Management gives you a bit more information. It still doesn't give you the full granular report like our check export does, but all of our reports have benefits. It just depends what information that you want to retrieve and what data you want to get out of the back end. So thank you so much for joining me on this webinar today. It's been fantastic and I look forward to the next one. Thanks guys, I'll see you then.